All right, let's start with WION's monthly global health check, markets and economic health check to see what happened in February. To begin with, broadly, commodities, digital assets and the dollar fell, driven by differing bets, with US President Donald Trump driving tariff headlines almost every other day. Bitcoin crashed over 25% from its new record high, hit on Trump's inauguration day in January. Gold was the biggest beneficiary in February, hitting multiple record highs. The yellow metal's shine was driven by safe haven bids from rising trade war fears from Trump's tariff rhetoric. Crude oil tumbled as talks of an end to the Ukraine war have stemmed supply fears, and at the same time, global economic concerns weighed on the demand outlook. Moving on to Asia-Pacific stock markets then, the sudden shift away from risk assets hit Asian markets. Most regional benchmarks closed deep in the red in February. Chinese stocks, though, were the exception, driven by tech stocks after a DeepSeek-led rally. Japanese stocks took the biggest hit in the month, down over 6%. The story in the American stocks was no different, with the S&P 500 and the Nasdaq reversing from record highs to close out the month in the red. Nasdaq was hit the most, led by a significant decline in tech stocks. Canadian and Brazilian stock indices closed out February with losses. European stocks ended February in the green, driven by broadly solid earnings reports and increased military spending, expectations boosting defense shares. Stocks across Europe and Africa gained, with an eye on the Ukraine peace deal also helping sentiment somewhat. The German DAX was the biggest gainer in February. Now let's turn our attention to the overall economic outlook. Let's look at the Asia-Pacific region first. Trump's trade war worries have weighed on the outlook for global economies. While India is still expected to be the fastest growing major economy in the world, bets are for a significant slowdown. The biggest worry is a fall in demand, which is weighing on sentiment for India. The outlook for the rest in Asia also remained negative. For China, the outlook is still mired in doubts from trade war worries and the recession in its real estate sector, in its real estate crisis. In the Americas, the outlook for the US, Canada, Brazil and Argentina shows trade tariffs are likely to hurt economic growth. For the US economy, recession bets are back on the table. The economic activity expectations in Canada, Brazil and Argentina were also cut. On the other side of the Atlantic, the negative outlook seems to be more widespread. The UK and other European economies will likely avoid a recession, but expectations show the clouds are darkening again. The outlook for African economies also remains negative. For latest news, download the WION app and subscribe to our YouTube channel.